Iverde. Longlegs. One of the best marketing campaigns any movie has had in recent memory. What a relief that it didn't disappoint. What Osgood Perkins achieved with Longlegs was an experience that favoured mood and dread first, creating an atmosphere that unsettlingly threads its way through the story, affecting its characters and thus the viewer. Micah Monroe superbly leads a bulwark ensemble cast, all of whom, whether their screen time be brief or extensive, each contribute to the dreary, heavy and skin-crawling picture this story paints. Uniquely ominous, narratively compelling and stylistically sinister, it's one of the best serial killer movies certainly of the last decade, and to reiterate, Longlegs did not disappoint. Ivernay. Swingbout. One could very easily accuse me of bias for this pick, given that I am credited as a background extra in it. And to that I say, there is not enough bias on the planet that could artificialize or diminish how I feel about Swingbout and how fucking good this movie is. And its singularly strong appeal. What exactly is that appeal? It's a movie about boxing where you don't see the boxing taking place, yet you feel every metaphorical punch, backstab, and every bit of tension the characters harbour for one another. It's a backstage crime thriller that involves shady people manipulating and scheming to get what they want at the expense of others, among other things going awry. This made for a perpetually exciting, white-knuckled experience culminating in an explosively fulfilling finale. Swingbout isn't just a fantastic film on its own, but it's also a major winner for independent Irish cinema, and that is another reason to celebrate it. Beautifully shot, exceptionally scored, and performed diligently by a killer cast. This was a knockout experience. Iverhocht. Smile 2. Naomi Scott as Sky Riley might be my favourite performance given by an actor from any movie this year. Fearless, transformational, all in. Capturing Sky's descent into madness, entertainment prowess, and her deepest demons, bringing them all to life in viscerally engaging detail. Writer-director Parker Finn takes the concept from the first movie and ingeniously explores a celebrity with a mass fan base as the protagonist, raising not just the stakes, but also the second-hand embarrassment you'll inevitably feel when she's doing public events and this demon is messing with her. I just think that that's such a cool, fresh perspective to tackle all of this from. Smile 2 is perfectly paced, it's gorgeously shot. The music by Cristobal Tapia de Veer is a singularly unnerving force of nature. Easily one of the best opening scenes I've seen in any movie this year anyway. It's a psychological dive that chills, thrills, entertains and overwhelms you, led by a titan Naomi Scott. It's an outstanding bit of horror storytelling. Ivershacht. Small things like these. A profoundly moving experience. Cillian Murphy delivers one of the year's most powerful leading performances as Bill Furlong, who slowly unravels following his exposure to the presence of a Magdalene laundry in his hometown. Small Things Like These is a uniquely quiet, intensely delicate experience that prompts you to ask evocative questions related to selflessness and how to wield it, injustice and turning a blind eye to it, and everything in between. It's that sophisticated area of nuance that director Tim Mealance harnesses to emotionally stunning effect consistently. And it's not just Cillian Murphy, though. This entire cast killed it. Zara Devlin, Eileen Walsh, Emily Watson. Oh my God, Emily Watson. Last year it was God's Creatures. This year it's this. She is mesmerising. And that right there is the perfect word to sum the film up. Mesmerising. Iverche. The Substance. Coralie Fargeat's sophomore feature effort contains career best work from Demi Moore, another electric turn by Margaret Qualley, a magnetically repulsive Dennis Quaid, and a thematically, emotionally harrowing tale on stardom, aging, the pointless pursuit of eternal youth, the dichotomy between a person and their celebrity, all told through the lens of extreme bodily horror. What I love about The Substance is how purposefully heightened, energetically unbound everything feels. It leans full tilt into the extreme. Elizabeth Sparkle as a character, what she wants, how she goes about getting what she wants, how her objectives evolve and crumble, and vice versa for her younger self. It is so intimate. It's so good. This entire movie is so good. If Coralie Fargeat wants to take another 7 years to make her next feature, let her. This level of quality is worth waiting for. This was unforgettable. Iver Cuig. I saw the TV glow. The one thought running through my head as this movie cut to black was, I did not want this to end. I did not want this ethereal, offbeat, weirdly nostalgic, emotionally complex narrative to end. Which is funny, because The Pink Opaque, the TV show that our lead characters Owen and Maddie watched, had the exact same impact. They did not want it to end. Now, of course, it didn't consume my life the way it did theirs, but that is what is so fascinating at the core of Jane Schunbrun's vision here, and what they accomplished piecing this together. To that end, the characters' purpose, identity, and their empathy becomes a point of crystal clear clarity. That clarity is something they wrestle and struggle with, figuring out what it means to them. To that end, Justice Smith and Bridget Lundy Payne elegantly excelled as these characters. It's one of those movies where no two interpretations will be the same. It's malleably open to varied readings, but the biggest takeaway for me was this. I was deeply invested in these characters, I was deeply invested in this narrative, and I was blown away by its originality. Incredible. Simply incredible. Iver Cahir. Will and Harper. In the last few years, transphobia has had a particularly disgusting surge on the global and political stage. It had always been around, but it has gotten prominently scarier with just how bad the varied levels of discrimination towards the trans community has gotten. And I am appalled by it. I condemn anyone that has deluded themselves into thinking that they are entitled to say things, assume things, to basically invalidate or judge how a trans person chooses to live their life. Simpler than that, I condemn anybody who goes out of their way to actively marginalise already marginalised communities. I hold no space for any motherfucker who thinks like that. I don't have any shame in being open about this context. I make no apologies for it, because I would be lying if I said that none of this was on my mind as I was watching Will and Harper. It was. But this documentary not only served as a temporary, powerful antidote towards those feelings, this documentary is about way more than someone else's prejudice. At the core of it is a journey of friendship, revisiting memory lane anew, learning to be a better ally, navigating one's authenticity, and having self-acceptance in a society quick to push back. The movie isn't without moments of stark reminders, but what I love is how delicate and life-affirming it really is. Will Ferrell and Harper Steele, their friendship is visibly unbreakable. They were funny, they were delightful together, but also intimately open with each other. Because of how much you come to appreciate them both and their friendship, the times where the documentary gets funny is really funny. The lighter moments feel really gentle and light, and the tougher moments are tough There are some sad moments here. I cried like, 3-4 times, I think? But by the time it was over, I felt uplifted. I felt so good and so glad that I watched it. I love this. I really frigging loved this doc. If you've made it this far into the video and you happen to be trans, I just want to assure you, or fall to road and shaw. Iver tree. Wicked. Hell yes to this movie. Wicked was, well, friggin' wicked. The 2 hours and 40 minutes flew by. Wicked was a cinema spectacle event packed with heart, allegory, and care, led by two powerhouses in Ariana Grande and Cynthia Erivo. One of my favourite movie duos this year. I love their dynamic. I love how they evolve. My favourite scene in the movie is their little dance, where enough was communicated without a single word vocalised, majestically executed. Speaking of which, John M. Chu proving his directing prowess with the musical set pieces. They are joyously dazzling to watch. The marriage between the choreography and the production design is just a thing of beauty. It's first class. It's shot so mellifluously. Every song number is edited and paced to perfection, allowing for humour and pathos to ebb and flow with zero hindrance. Speaking of the music, I love it. If you're not a fan of the musical or musicals in general, then I can't see how this will win you over. But for me, the sense of adventure, the unapologetic fantasy of it all is something this movie captures so well. It all leads to what might be the most chills-inducing ending any movie has had this year. I mean, that ending went hard. I love this movie to bits. Roll on part 2 next November. Iverdo. Dune Part 2. Epic. No other word can sum up Dune Part 2 more accurately than epic. The action, the visuals, the music, the story, the characters, the lore. Denis Villeneuve cooked. He majorly cooked with this one. There are too many memorable moments to name. For me, chief among them all has to be Paul Atreides riding that grandfather sandworm. That entire sequence is filmmaking mastery in full swing. It is so grand, so chilling, so exciting, and so badass. Seeing that on the big screen for the first time was a moment that I will never forget. The big screen was made for moments like that. Unparalleled. Dune Part 2 consistently delivers with its action every bit as much as it delivers with its character development and story progression. The cast deliver stellar work, with Javier Bardem and Austin Butler being the standouts. It's a sci-fi fantasy epic rich in scale, dense in thrills, with intrigue in perpetuity. There is no end to Denis Villeneuve's talent. There is no end to Dune Part 2's lasting impact on this genre. I absolutely adore this movie. Agus I give her a hen and scanon as farlum o gobula sa fehe caherna. All of Us Strangers. This hit different. This stood out. Never left my mind since I first saw it back in January. And it's even more prevalently on my mind now, considering that I just rewatched it yesterday. There is nothing that I can say that can speak to how movingly affecting All of Us Strangers is. Nothing, almost nothing. And yet, at the same time, there is still so much to say regardless. Where do I start? All of Us Strangers is a singularly poignant experience. It's a film that touches on the great depths of our humanity. It's a film about love. It's a film about loss. It's a film about grief, about longing, about loneliness, about opening yourself up to others, about unlearning and untangling past anxieties, about moving on. This is a film about all of the thoughts, the sensations, and the expressions that are left unsaid around loved ones. Not only grieving their absence, but grieving that deeper well of love and emotion that we still want to give, and how deeply that grief can bury itself inside anybody. It's a film about remembering those that we have loved and lost. There is no end to the emotional ambition behind writer-director Andrew Haig's helming of the story. The quietude, the subtlety, the richness of its comfortingly ambient soundtrack by Emily Levinet's Farouche. Then we get to the performances. Paul Mescal, Jamie Bell, and Claire Foy, fucking phenomenal. Utterly mesmerising. And then we get to Andrew Scott leading the charge as Adam. I can't envision another actor playing this character. He inhabits this character with a vulnerability, an openness, and an ease that everything that he says, does, and feels, regardless if his expressions are subtle or not, it overwhelms you. His presence, his aura, his innocence, his warmth, it's such a beautifully giving performance. All of Us Strangers is a thematically, dramatically, narratively, and emotionally dense, thought-provoking experience, but always moves and unfolds with a grace and delicacy that never elevates its emotional levels to overblown heights. It's perfectly balanced, consistently. The movie really struck many personal chords with me. There were some lines of dialogue that hit pretty damn close to home for me. It made me feel a lot of things. It made me think about so much. One of many key takeaways being that it's a story that shows a side of masculinity that's not embraced nearly as much as it should be. It's a story that is indicative and emblematic of what I want to see more of in the portrayal of men in media. Like in movies, the sensitivity, the delicacy, the cognizance, the introspection, specifically the openness of how it is portrayed here. It is specifically that openness that Andrew Haig effortlessly harnesses that fundamentally and deeply resonated with me. Uniquely ethereal, deftly intelligent, emotionally thoughtful, written and directed with absolute passion and deeply moving throughout. The top honour of my favourite movie of 2024 is awarded to the masterpiece that is All of Us Strangers. Nola Connor, Slán Live.